I imagine. What a modest beginning. The reader is immediately put at ease. The reader is made to understand that he is given an access to the imagination of the poet. I imagine. The solipsistic opening of the poem establishes a rapport between the reader and the speaker in the poem. I. What a beautiful word. The first person pronoun. I. I am the most important person for myself. If I do not exist, I cannot speak. If I do not exist, I cannot do anything. If I do not exist, the world does not exist for me. I imagine. The poet is all alone and it is midnight, and the poet imagines that he is in a forest. The people around the poet have all gone to sleep, probably, and the poet is all alone. And poets, you must remember, are crazy guys who undertake long, lonely, and lifelong journeys across miles and miles of writing paper. Our poet is also in the process of undertaking such a journey. He is trying to write a poem. It is midnight, he is all alone. He feels that he is in the middle of a forest. He feels that only two things about him are alive. One is the ticking of the clock, the constant ticking of the clock. By just ticking, the clock makes it clear that it is alive. The second thing is the blank page in front of the poet on which he is trying to write the poem. As I said, the poet is in the process of the struggle of creating a poem. There are two things which are alive, only two things which are alive. One is the clock, which is ticking, proving that it is alive, and the other is the blank page in front of the poet on which he is trying to inscribe the poem. And then he suddenly realizes that there is one more thing that is alive. There is a third thing which is alive. I wish to observe that there is something surrealistic about the opening stanza of the thought fox. The world sleeping, the poet all alone, the poet awake, the poet all alone. Everything around him dead. Only two things alive, the clock and the blank page. And now, the third thing. When the world goes to sleep, the poet sets out on his endless and solitary journey. That precisely is what the poet in this poem is also in the process of doing. There is a surrealistic atmosphere created by the opening lines of the poem. The poet does not say what the third thing which is alive is because he wants to keep the reader guessing, because he wants to maintain the suspense. But of course, it is the fox. We know that it is the fox. And you must remember that as a child, as a boy, as a young man, Ted Hughes was obsessed with foxes. He took a keen interest in the numerous foxes that he saw around him in Yorkshire. He keenly observed them and their behavior. He keenly observed them and studied their behavior. Foxes repeatedly appeared in his dreams. Even when he was a student at the university, there were instances when foxes invaded his dreams. The fox has a pivotal position has an unquestionable centrality in the mythology of Ted Hughes, in the symbology of Ted Hughes. The fox for Ted Hughes is an animal. The fox for Ted Hughes is a personification. The fox for Ted Hughes is a symbol. Above all, the fox for Ted Hughes is a totemic figure. The Thought Fox was the first animal poem written by Ted Hughes. It was one of his beloved poems. He loved it very much. He was very proud of it. And he loved to read the poem to friends and to audiences. In Poetry in the Making, Poetry in the Making, Ted Hughes says, I quote, "My fox is better than an ordinary fox. It will live forever. It will never suffer from hunger or hounds." Unquote.